What is going on this beautiful Friday? JT Hayes, Run Pure Sports at JT Hayes Jr. on Twitter.com. It's time once again for JT's Bang Bang Plays, 14-game Friday night Major League Baseball slate. Thankfully, there's a game in Chicago this afternoon that we don't have to worry about unless you're playing Showdowns. Then you go to Run Pure Sports, and if you're not already a member, you enter code RPSNFL15 and you get 15% off. Not your first payment, not your first month, not your first year, your lifetime subscription. Once again, RPSNFL15. Interesting week so far. The last couple of days, we've seen a trend. And that's been some of the highest owned, highest priced pitchers just flat out busting. Tyler Mahle in a great matchup against the Cubs at home on Wednesday afternoon. And then that night, Freddie Peralta in maybe consideration for the National League Cy Young Award. He busts negative points at St. Louis. And yesterday afternoon, Zach Wheeler in the desert at altitude in Arizona in a pretty winnable matchup against a team that has very little left to play for. And he does poorly. Didn't go negative, but certainly didn't put up a score that you would expect out of Zach. And last night on a slate that had very little pitching, in my opinion, as I looked at it, 3 pitchers were usable on that slate, and one of them, Brandon Woodruff, just didn't have it last night in the heat. Something to watch moving forward with Brandon Woodruff, by the way, is how he pitches in the heat and humidity. Doesn't seem to fare pretty well his last 3 times out. Last night in St. Louis, in Chicago, and then either the start or a couple before that in Atlanta on a particularly muggy evening. So something to keep an eye on moving forward, but he sunk a lot of lineups with his performance last night. And with a 14-game slate and some high-end aces, obviously there's going to be some of these guys that aren't going to perform as well as maybe we would expect them to. So we'll get right into it at the top of pitching. Like I said, lots of options tonight. You've got Chris Sale finally back from the IL. He looked dominant in a start against the Baltimore Orioles. You've got Lucas Giolito in a much more dangerous matchup going into Tampa Bay. But my favorite guy is the highest priced pitcher on the slate. He's definitely not going to be the highest owned pitcher. He's going to come in, as of right now, it's looking like maybe 12 to 15% ownership. He gets just a fantastic matchup at home against the New York Mets. That's Walker Bueller. He's 10.5K on DraftKings. Walker Bueller, a 27% strikeout rate on the year. The New York Mets since August 1st. A 137 ISO to go along with a 23% strikeout rate. And in a month, they finally scored 6 runs for the first time in a month in San Francisco, but they needed 12 innings to do it. They lost their starting catcher. Their backup catcher was already on the injured list. They've got a guy now who they were moving around. He plays the infield some, and it's just not good for the New York Mets. I don't need to say any more about that, but with the Dodgers having had 2 bullpen games in a row, the last game of their series against the Pittsburgh Pirates and then this game against the New York Mets, it's pretty clear that Doc Roberts, as he calls himself now, is going to need some length out of Walker Bueller. This guy is probably the odds-on favorite in my mind right now to get to that National League Cy Young Award, especially with Zach Wheeler's last couple of starts. So look for Walker Bueller to be the ace that Doc Roberts can rely on tonight against the New York Mets. And if we're paying 10-5, we need to pay down just a little bit. There are some guys a lot lower than Blake Snell's price that I think are completely unusable that people are interested in. And then there's at least one guy that I think, which I'm going to save for our subscribers at Run Pure Sports on my slate strategy, of course. So once again, RPS NFL 15. But there's a guy in Blake Snell who we know, especially at this time of the year. It looks like Jay Stingler was smart to limit his innings earlier in the year, and now they're relying on him and letting him go deeper in games. And we know the deal with Blake Snell at this point in his career in San Diego. You play him when he pitches at home, and you avoid him when he pitches on the road. At home, he's been absolutely outstanding. 12.76 strikeouts per 9 innings for a 34% strikeout rate and an xFIP of 3.0. He gets to take on a Phillies team that, since Rhys Hoskins has gone on the IL, this team has just not looked good. They get shut down yesterday in Arizona by Madison Bumgarner. Not a very good series for them there. And yes, they are coming out of altitude, not as high as Coors Field, but they are coming out of altitude into San Diego. which is flat at sea level. So we're going to pair, at least I am as of right now, in the morning, thinking of pairing Walker Bueller with Blake Snell. Where are we going to look for offense? Well, what an amazing performance last Saturday night in Arizona by Tyler Gilbert. 9 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts, a no-hitter against the San Diego Padres. This guy was just phenomenal. Was he not? I mean, cheers to Tyler Gilbert. And he goes into Colorado now. He's going to pitch against the Colorado Rockies. He looked every bit like Cy Young last week. Maybe he's the next, I don't know, what do you think he is? Is he the next Chris Sale? Is he the next Randy Johnson? No, he's not any of those things. He's going to get torn to shreds tonight in Colorado. What's going to happen is, and I can predict it for you, this is exactly what's going to happen. He's going to have a walk or two in the first inning. He's going to realize early on, my breaking stuff isn't as good, not nearly as good as it is anywhere else. He's going to lose command. He's going to melt down. He'll be out of the game by the third inning, and the Rockies are going to score between 10 and 15 runs this evening because Arizona's bullpen, after Tyler Gilbert, has a 5.14 xFIP over the last couple of weeks. They've got guys like Caleb Smith in there now, who's pitched okay, but again, none of these guys' breaking stuff is going to work in Colorado. And I think the Colorado Rockies on this 14-game slate, partially because Gilbert just threw a no-hitter and people are going to over-evaluate this guy. Listen, before that 102-pitch performance in Arizona in that no-hitter last week, his 3 starts before that, number of pitches he's thrown, 19 pitches, 32 pitches. Now he gets to 102. They may have given him an extra day just because I think it's 6 days since he last pitched, although Arizona is doing some wacky things with openers and stuff like that. But it's not going to matter. Trust me, it's not going to matter. The Rockies are going to go off tonight. Guys I like in this lineup that hit left-handed pitching particularly well. Connor Joe leading off at just 3.4. Brendan Rodgers at 4.6. Of course, we're going to play Trevor Story in our Rocky stack at 5.4. And then CJ Cron, who's been really hitting very, very well, especially of late at 4.9. If Garrett Hampson breaks that lineup down low for just, I think, in the low 3s, I like him as well. Go with the Colorado Rockies. Don't try and chase Tyler Gilbert's last start. Please, please. So we got the Rockies. We got a number of teams in great spots tonight. The Yankees, who I like a little bit as well. They take on Charlie Barnes, who's coming off somewhat of a ceiling performance, maybe the best start of his Major League Baseball career. The Braves get to take on Keegan Aiken, but you're going to have to take out a third mortgage on your home to get the Braves tonight, even though they're in probably the best spot on the slate in Baltimore, in that great park against Aiken and that bullpen. But a spot that I like, that I think may go a little bit overlooked, is the Toronto Blue Jays returning home. They get to take on another Tyler Alexander for the Detroit Tigers, and the Detroit Tigers bullpen after him. That bullpen giving up 1.8 home runs per 9 innings over the last couple of weeks. And that bullpen, in case you missed it, got absolutely shredded yesterday against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And their best relievers, Kyle Funkhauser and Michael Fulmer, pitched in that game yesterday. So they're even going to be a little bit shorthanded in the bullpen. And poor Tyler Alexander, a 4.96 expected ERA on the season, giving up just over 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. I think he's going to give up even more than that tonight against this Toronto Blue Jays lineup. And one other thing to keep in mind, the Tigers have had some issues with injuries with their catchers. They placed Eric Haas on the IL earlier this week, and they traded for a guy named Dustin Garneau, Dustin Garneau, and I think the Blue Jays are going to have some success on the base paths as well. They had a rough series in Washington against the floundering Nationals, and they're looking to get right here. And I think they do so in a big way in this matchup against Alexander and the Detroit Tigers. My 3 favorite Blue Jays as of right now. Bo Bichette, priced down a little bit to 5.2. Again, Bichette can steal a bunch of bases, as can the next 2 guys. Teoscar Hernandez at 5.0, and we'll save a little money with a guy that I love to play against left-handed pitching. It's the other Gurriel, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. He's just 3.3K on DraftKings. So, Walker Bueller, Blake Snell, the Rockies, the Blue Jays. If you're not a member, we're going to have a playbook up. We'll have a slate strategy. We'll have core plays. Our Discord is going 24/7. If you're watching these videos, first of all, like the video. Subscribe to the Run Pure Sports YouTube network. And if you're watching and you're not a member already, I'm not sure exactly what you are waiting for. But get in there, join the movement, use code RPSNFL15, 15% off of your lifetime subscription. Good luck in your contest tonight. Enjoy.